Hey guys, this is Srinath for Chess24. Today we are going to look at the game of the tournament from the final round of the Tata Steel Masters Chess Championship between Jordan Van Forest against Niels Grundelius. Before the final round, Jordan was trailing the tournament leader Anish Giri by half point, and therefore Jordan had to win on demand and hope that Anish did not win his final round. So this was the scene when the final round happened. Jordan was white and he began with 1 e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, takes, knight f6, knight c3, a6. The knight of variation, in which Anish had done a course recently for Chessaver. And Jordan played queen d3 here, which is not one of the main moves in this position. But I think Jordan had played this a few times before, and his second Max Warmerdam had played this 5 years ago in 2015. Black has many different ways to continue against this, but Niels chose the variation which Anish had recommended in his chessable course. He went knight d7, bishop e2, b5, and a4, knight c5. It might seem a bit unusual for black to develop the pieces on the queen side first without developing the pieces on the king side. But it's also a classic principle to immediately play for the control of the center while developing your pieces. And this is what black is trying to do. With knight d7, the knight is trying to come to c5 to attack the e4 pawn. And after bishop e2, b5, a4, the point of b5 is to play b4 and take control of the e4 square, which black tries to attack and capture. a4, knight c5, queen e3, b4, knight d5, and knight c into e4. Black is a pawn up, and black, it looks, at the outset, it looks like black has a fantastic position. Black has captured the central pawn, and black also seems well developed. And here Anish has considered knight into b4 and knight c6 in his course. But Jordan played a5, which is the computer's first choice, and it surprised a lot of people who were watching the game at that time. The point being that, it's difficult to attribute a single point to the move, but at the immediate outset, white threatens knight b6, and black still has at least a few moves to complete his development on the king side and castle, and white tries to set up numerous threats before black can achieve this. For example, if black played something like bishop b7, then white can go knight b6, rook b8, castle, e5, knight f5. And it's not entirely clear how black is going to complete his development, since the knight on f5 is controlling the g7 pawn, and black still has to make a few moves to complete his development. And this was extremely unpleasant for Niels to face over the board, having not prepared this before, not knowing what the computer recommends. And he played knight d5, queen d4, e6, natural moves. E6 enabling black to play bishop e7 and short castle and develop as quickly as possible. On hindsight, bishop b7 was another move, the top choice of Stockfish. But here white has some nasty ideas like c4, attacking the knight on d5. Black is forced to take b into c3, and now bishop d1. The idea being to play bishop a4 check and catch the black king in the center. Black can of course play, black has to move the queen away to make space for the king. And after bishop a4 check, king d8, short castle. The position to a human high looks quite dangerous for black. Although again, Stockfish is merciless against white here. So Niels continued with e6, and after short castle, he played the bishop to d7 to take control of the c6 square and prepare to castle short. If black started with bishop e7 here, then after knight c6, queen c7, knight e7, queen e7, bishop d2, white's position would be better because white has captured black's dark square bishop and has the pair of bishops. And without the dark square bishop, usually the d6 point tends to be a bit fragile. So this is a slightly better position for white from a strategic point of view. So Neil started out with bishop d7. Again, bishop b7 can be scary because bishop b7 loses control of the e6 point, and you never know. Knight into e6, knight f5, bishop h5. So many threats against black's king with at least 2 moves remaining to castle short. Niels continued with bishop d7 and bishop d2, bishop e7. It looks like black is starting to get out of danger. He's going to castle the next move. Bishop f3, short castle, queen d3. And here white's point becomes very clear. White's very deep idea. The immediate threat is to just take bishop into d5 and then capture bishop b4, taking the b4 pawn which is undefended. And allowing this wouldn't be in black's best interest because, for example, if black plays rook a7, trying to release the rook from the pin, after bishop d5, ed5, bishop into b4, white has regained the pawn, but he has much better pawn structure. The pawns on d6 and d5 are weak, and white's pieces are also very well placed. The bishop on b4, the knight on d4 centralized, bishop on b4 looking at the pawn on d6 and exerting pressure. Therefore, Niels played queen to b8, defending the b4 pawn and preparing against bishop into d5. And now again, Jordan played c4, b into c3, b into c3. Very strong moves, very precise moves. The top moves. Now threatening c4, taking advantage of the pin on this diagonal. Niels played rook a7, trying to get out of the pin. And now after rook b1, queen c8, c4, knight f6. White unveiled a very deep move, a fantastic, a very, very strong strategic move that blew the minds of people who are watching the game. White played knight b5. And this knight b5 must have come like a bolt from the blue. Even if Niels had anticipated this, it was already too late to get out of the way. Because, for example, if black played something like e5, then also knight b5, cb5, ab5, cb5 works. And the other move for the knight to c7 doesn't look good at all because it makes the rook on a7 vulnerable. And after something like bishop e3, bishop f6, knight e2, the rook on a7 is actually trapped and has no squares to move to. And of course, black can fight on by taking the rook and claiming that he's still a pawn up. But after bishop b7, queen d8, f4, the bishop on e5 is forced to move away from e5. And after bishop f6, queen into d6, white is completely dominating. So Niels played knight f6, knight b5, a b5, c b5. And the point of this whole c4, bc3, bc3, and then c4, knight b5 is that these 2 pawns on b5 and a5 virtually become unstoppable. There's b6 coming in, and then a6 and b7. In general, the 2 pawns on the 6th rank are virtually unstoppable even against a rook. And here black's pieces are just not having enough time to come and set up a blockade. So Niels took bishop into b5 and gave back a piece. And after queen into b5, black is still a pawn up, but after knight d7, bishop b7, the rook on a7 becomes completely arrested. The rook has nowhere to go. And after queen d8, a6, the arrest is fully established. And one of the stunning things about this game is pretty much until the 17th move, until the 18th move, Jordan was just blitzing out the moves, and he had an advantage of a full hour over Niels, who had to think, calculate, and solve problems for a very long time. And this also plays an effect on the energy levels of the player. And so, with each new problem to solve, there is less reserves to use. Bishop b5, queen b5, knight d7, bishop b7, queen d8, a6. Niels fights on, he tries to resist bishop f6, attacking the rook. Of course, Jordan can move the rook, but he can also ignore the threat, because after bishop a5, queen e8, bishop c7, attacking the d6 pawn. The point is, if black does take bishop into a1, which he did in the game, then after rook into a1, black does not have any dark square bishop to protect any threats against the a7 rook by the white's dark square bishop. As such, the bishop just needs to get on this diagonal and attack the rook and force the loss of an exchange, after which the pawn is likely to queen. But this actually turns out to be a small misstep in Jordan's direction. And black had a defense with knight c5. And after queen b6, queen d7. The point being that if white takes on the rook on a7, then black takes the bishop on c7. And there is no obvious way for the white queen to come out from e7. This was missed by Niels, probably, but it's very natural and understandable considering the amount of problems he had to solve from the beginning of the game, and also the lack of time at this point, the fatigue, and you also have a certain kind of hopelessness when you have been defending a very bad position for a long time, and this sets in a kind of pessimism which can enable one to miss opportunities even when it arises by chance. So white had to take bishop into d6 first, and after bishop d4, bishop f8, black has to capture with the king, because if queen f8, the d7 knight is hanging. And after king f8, rook c1, white is threatening rook c8 by force. Black has no way to prevent this, because if he plays bishop c5, then after rook into c5, knight into c5, queen into c5, check. Both the king as well as the rook are attacked simultaneously. So this was a very clean win that was possible. But after rook a1, which was maybe the only inaccuracy Jordan did in this whole game, Niels responded with d5, and after this he never got another chance. Bishop d6, trapping this rook. So the rook has no square, and the rook on a7 is anyway trapped, and white can also capture it with the queen, with some queen b6 later in the game. And with threats of rook c1, rook c8 coming, queen d8 trying to release the rook, rook c1, preparing rook c8. White does not need to take anything immediate, because his pieces are completely dominating, and black's pieces cannot really go anywhere. g6, freeing the back rank. h3, white also doing the same. Rook e8, and now rook c7. Knight f6, bishop e5, putting the bishop in the center in a dominating square, and White's rook is in the 7th rank, and the bishop on e5 can move to bishop d4 at any point. And this is what Jordan prepares with queen c6, one of the threats being bishop d4, the other threat being rook c8. Niels tries to defend it with defend one of the threats with rook f8, but after bishop d4, queen b8, f3 to free the c5 square. So if black moves knight g5, white can just take on a7, queen c5, and here white takes control of the a7 square. And if black takes queen c5, then after rook c5, black has absolutely no way to stop the white a pawn from queening. And if black plays queen to b8, then after a7, again black has no way to stop the a pawn from queening. So rook a6, Niels tries to fight out desperately. So rook a6 frees the queen from the on the b file. White cannot take queen into a6 because the c7 rook is hanging. So he has to take bishop into a6, and with queen b4, Niels threatens the d4 bishop and also tries to create a perpetual check threat. Bishop e5 takes control of the g3 square, so black does not have this queen e1, queen g3. And after queen e1 check, king h2, knight f2, which black does not really have any threats with knight d2 because the f1 square is covered by the bishop on f1, bishop on e6. So white can just play queen c3, defending the e5 bishop, and threaten rook c8 with everything under control. Knight f2 tries to create some queen h1 check related threats, but again queen c3, a strong move, protecting the e5 bishop and calling out black's bluff. After queen h1, king g3, queen g1, white can just go rook c8, now starting to create some real threats on the back rank, mating threats. Niels tries to give a few final checks: knight h1 check, king h4, queen f2, g3, g5 check, king g5, f6, king h6, allowing Jordan to replicate the famous short Timman king walk. Not exactly the same, but a king walk to h6 is always uh, it's beautiful and unusual. It's unusual in a beautiful sense. F into e5, queen into e5, and here Niels finally resigned. The threat is queen g7 checkmate, and if Niels tries to defend it with queen a7, then after queen h8 check, king h8, rook into f8, it's another beautiful checkmate. So Niels resigned at this point with queen into e5, and Jordan won this game. Anish drew his game against Anton Guerrero, and Jordan went on to win a thrilling humdinger against Anish in the Armageddon tiebreak to complete a historic win at the Tata Steel Masters 2021, becoming the first Dutch player to win in 35 years. A hearty congratulations to Jordan, and that's all we have for the game of the tournament. Thank you all for watching. See you guys soon. Bye bye.